you guys to leave with here is a very loose definition of a framework. And I'm going to give you some resources that you can go into to dive into it deeper. But the reality is that change in your life and in these results is a journey. Because the good news is that you're the problem, and the bad news is that you're the problem. Right? And so we're going to give you guys a framework today that if you follow it, is going to teach you over the next 6 quarters or year and a half exactly what you want and what you're willing to do or not willing to do to get it. Now, it will not make you successful. It will not make you work harder or any of that other stuff. You have to want that intrinsically. But what this will do will let you know exactly through measurement what is working, what isn't working, and what it is that your willing and wanting gap is. So let me talk about the willing and wanting gap. Everybody wants $1 billion. Everybody wants millions of dollars. Everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants flexibility in their jobs. The question is, what are you willing to do or not willing to do to get it? And right now, whatever frameworks you're not using probably allow you to lie to yourself about those things all the time. Most of us probably want to lose weight. Most of us every day are probably not willing or are not disciplined enough to make the decisions around what it would take to get better results. That's a battle I've been fighting my whole life. Using this system made it pretty clear to me that I was not willing to give up some of the things I would need to give up to get to where I wanted to go. And so we're going to bring that into a framework. This framework works in every aspect of your life. It particularly works for business, and we're going to talk about it that way today. But it's 4 components. And I'm doing a little bit off the presentation, one, because I hate being confined to a presentation. I'm disciplined in a lot of my life, but not in presentations. But 2 is I think Brian covered some stuff, and I want to kind of tie it together. So I think it'll be more valuable if I do that on the fly. It's my first time hearing Brian speak. I thought he did an awesome job. Objectives, which are your goals. I would write this stuff down if you want to follow them. Not, I understand it's 3 o'clock. I got the last spot. I'm happy to be here. Everybody's tired and burnt out. You already ate lunch. I get it. Objectives, key results, which are the things that we're going to measure each quarter to let us know if we're getting towards our dreams. A weekly scorecard, which is a measurement of the activities that we are willing or not willing to do to get to those key results. And then the most important piece of it, which Brian touched on, is your calendar. I have trained loan officers in every aspect of the industry for the last 15 years. Every one of them starts off by telling me, Mark, you don't understand. I can't be disciplined with my time. You don't get it. When my borrowers want to talk to me, or my realtors with me, I have to be available. And they get trapped by that I have to be available thing, right? Well, if you have to be available, then you can only go as far as your availability goes. Discipline does equal freedom, as Brian said. And so, again, these are muscles you build over time. You will not leave here today feeling like suddenly you are going to have the discipline to make great decisions every day about getting to where you want to go. But I will give you a framework that if you check in on it weekly, will start to help you build those muscles so that you can become the person capable of behaving the way that you want to behave to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. And it will become crystal clear for you. You will no longer be able to lie to yourself. And if you're willing to have an accountability partner, or even better, get a coach and work through this framework, it will change your life. Not to overhype it. So we're going to go through the 3 things we're going to go over, and I'm going to kind of touch on those. And I'm going to speed through some of this because really this presentation was on the first 2, objectives and key results. But I want to tie it all together now based on Brian's conversation. So here's the deal. If I said to you guys, in 2028 on New Year's Day, you need to have $5 million, what would you do the rest of the day today to make sure that happens? The answer is, it's impossible to know, right? So we set these crazy, I want that beach house. I want that thing. I want to get to this place. I want this job. I want this thing. I want my life to look and feel this way. What do I have to do right now to get it? I have no idea. We are not capable as people of marrying those things. You need to have these steps that will let you know exactly where you're at and how to measure where you're going. And something that allows you to iterate or change the things you're doing along the way. Because you're going to have to learn and change and iterate over the next 5 years to get to those $5 million. So we're going to talk about how we do that. First, objectives. Objectives should be inspiring, clear, and ambitious. Why do they need to be inspiring? How many of you guys think you could become a $5 million net worth real estate agent or loan officer without any help from anyone else? Nobody, right? That's not how it works. You should have a clear objective that is both inspiring to you, because in the days where you don't feel like doing the things you're supposed to do, you have to have a why, and inspiring to others who want to join you on this journey. So we are about to enter goal season right now, right? Every October I meet with hundreds of realtors in Charleston, South Carolina, New Jersey when I was from there. We talk about setting goals, right? We're in that season, right? I always ask people, what are your goals? And you get some interesting answers. And how many of you guys know what your goal is right now for 2023? How many of you guys had a very specific goal for 2022? How many of you guys check in every week on where you're at with your goal for 2022? Awesome. That's a really good start. Is any of you guys excited to tell me what your 2022 goal was, where I would be inspired to help and support you on your way to your goal? Less. So I'll give you an example. Last year in October, I did this presentation for a woman who was new to the real estate industry. We're going around the room. I'd never met her before. I've actually never met her since. I said to her, what is your objective? And she looks down at her paper and she goes, I want to help 100 immigrant minority people become first-time homeowners. And I was like, how can I help? In the middle of the presentation. Stop the thing. How can I help? She nailed it. I was like, that is an amazing objective. I wanted to get on board right away. It was meaningful. Last week, she went on Instagram, tagged me. I don't follow her. Tagged me. Haven't talked to her since. And she won a huge award for being the #1 broker in her company for the first 9 months of the year. And she thanked 3 people, and one of them was me. And all I did was meet her for that conversation and gave her this framework. It's not that I'm amazing. It's that this stuff changes your life. And when she started telling other people that this was her objective, everyone she met wanted to get on board. So come up with an objective that at least inspires you, a big goal, but if you can get one that inspires other people to want to join you on your journey, that will also boost you to a whole different level. All right? So clear, inspiring, and ambitious. By the way, if you set a goal to get to where you need to get to pay your bills, there's no chance of you exceeding it. You will probably miss it. So if we're going to dream, we're going to go to work for 40 hours a week, might as well dream big. Think of something that's inspiring and ambitious. Your objective does not have to be measurable or something you know how to accomplish. So Google did not invent objectives and key results as a framework, but they did make it famous. A couple ways they made it famous. One is their first objective as a company when they got together, Sergey Brin said, we want to organize the world's information. That's not necessarily measurable, but they sure as hell figured it out. Their second major objective is, I don't know if you guys remember this, Internet Explorer and Mozilla Firefox were the only browsers that you had. And a guy at Google said, I think we can build the world's best browser. And then that was the objective. And I'll talk about what the key result was in a minute because it's important. But that was not something that he knew how to measure. He just said, we're Google. We're going to go build the world's best browser. 90% of internet traffic now takes place on Chrome. They pulled it off. And so by having a very inspiring objective, I want to make it clear, I'll talk to the loan officer and they'll be like, hey, my objective for next year is I want to do 30 million. And they'll start telling me how they think they're going to do it. If you're already limiting yourself to what you think you know how to do, you're screwing up when you're setting your goals. You should have a little bit of sickness in your stomach because you know you don't know how to do it yet when you set the thing that's your objective. It should be unknown territory. It should be a little bit scared. So it doesn't be measurable necessarily. It can be. Princeton Mortgage's objective is 50,000 loans a year by 2028. But it doesn't have to be measurable. It can be, it doesn't have to be. So I kind of gave you some good examples. I'm going to skip over that. So cool. We have our objective. Now we need key results. Key results are the 1 to 3 most important things that are going to tell us if we're on our way to achieving our objective. So here we are. By the way, tomorrow's a magical day. Anybody know what tomorrow is?
Yeah.
It's last day of So you know what that means for me? I get to set brand new key results for me and my company, every loan officer, every person, going into Q4. Q4 is my favorite quarter to set goals for. Is it because it's the best one in the real estate industry? Of course not. It's because I get to celebrate my key results, accomplishing them, on New Year's Eve when the ball's going down. It feels very specific and special. So if I say to you, let's say I want to be the #1 realtor in Birmingham, or I want to build the #1 real estate team in Birmingham, or maybe it's in your neighborhood or your county, or most transactions, whatever your objective is, okay? Your key results are the 1 to 3 most important things that you can measure that will tell you about success or failure in Q4. So here's what a key result is not. I want to sell more houses. I want to add to my database. I want to do my database. And by the way, if you're a realtor and you don't have an amazing database, you're done. That's like #1, like you can't even start till you have your database, so go home and do that first. But that's not a key result, because you can build a really bad database and not have it give you any results. I'll give you another example. When we first started doing this as a company, we said Princeton Mortgage is going to publish our own company underwriting guidelines. That was the key result. What was the problem with that? We did it, we wrote them, we published them, we sent them out an email. Nobody learned them, nobody underwrote to them, nobody ever looked at them again, but we checked off the box that we accomplished that for the key result. But that wasn't the point. The point was to get everybody underwriting to those new guidelines and to make everything easier for the company, where we would do better loans and have an easier process. So we set the wrong key result. So measuring the 3 things that matter most towards your objective is what's important. So if I say I want to have the #1 real estate team in Birmingham by 2028, how many agents do I need to recruit in Q4? How many agents do I need to recruit that did above a certain amount of purchase transactions last year? How many transactions do we need to do in order to be able to continue to fund our growth? And then, by the way, can you have a counteracting key result, which is, hey, I need to recruit this many agents, but I can't pay out more than this in signing bonuses because it will hamper our ability to get to where we want to go. And so you want to find whatever your objective is, whatever your big goal is for 2023, what are the 3 measurable things that you can learn for Q4? Now I'll tell you this, my first 6 quarters I set objectives and key results, I missed my goals wildly. Never got above 60%. That's okay. This is a long process, and it's okay. I would rather you set big, hairy, audacious goals and fail than set non-ambitious ones and succeed. Because here's the thing, it's okay to be bad at setting goals. Everything took twice as long and cost twice as much as I expected. It wasn't going to put me out of business. I set big, hairy, audacious goals, and I failed, and that was fine. I learned to measure what was working and what wasn't. Does anybody have a goal that they thought of for 2023 they'd be willing to share? An objective? Anybody have an objective for the rest of their life in this business that they would be willing to share? Nobody? Was it? Do good things. Okay, great. What? For who?
Don't ask me more questions, that's it.
Okay, great. Well, Leslie, how would you measure if you did good things in Q4?
Make the lives of my kids better, the people around better, give out goodness.
How do we measure it?
Kindness. You can't measure it.
Oh,
It's all in your head good and how you feel.
we can measure it.
Okay.
And this is where this is so great. So I'll give you an example. At Princeton Mortgage, one of our key results, or our objectives, is to be the best place in the industry for loan officers to work. Well, how do you measure that? How would I measure if it's the best place for loan officers to work?
Turnover rate.
Turnover rate, it's a really good way to measure it. What else? What? Yes, we survey the shit out of everything at Princeton Mortgage. We survey it until people are, the #1 complaint on our surveys about working at Princeton Mortgage is the amount of surveys we have. That's not a joke. And I literally give a speech every time. I know it's annoying. I know you're so busy. I need 20 minutes of your undivided attention to tell us the things that we're good at and not good at. Because by the way, we will fix the shit we're not good at. And so either fill out the survey or you can never complain. Right? It's magical. We asked every borrower multiple times. We actually pay every borrower, offered every borrower $1,000 at closing if they're unhappy for any reason. That's how valuable that information is to me. When we first rolled it out, 6% of our customers took us up on it. Now it's less than 1 out of every 250. It changed everything we did to get that information. So you want to measure how happy your kids are? Measure it. There's tests out there. That's what I mean when I say, because otherwise it's not tangible. So we go and we give our kids a test. Hey, my kids are this happy at the end of September. I want them to be this happy on that test by the end of December. And maybe you'll find out you're measuring the wrong thing, but you cannot learn without measuring. Okay? So bad key results, not measurable. Good key results, measurable. Spend the time thinking about how to measure what you want most. Are you on track? What are the vital things that matter? Loan officers will be like, I'm going to have 100 realtor conversations this year. I'm like, cool, man, that's an activity. A result is, how many of them referred you a deal? Right? A result is, how many of them asked you to go to lunch because they wanted to learn from you? It doesn't matter how many meetings you had, you might suck at meetings. You might feel really good. I talked to 100 new realtors this week. Well, they all hated you, you failed, you measured the wrong thing. So measuring the vital few things each quarter, and it's okay to fail. What you also have to do is have a calendar entry that you should do today before you leave. For every Friday at 4:45, where you check in on where you're at with your key results. Because if you do not have a program of checking in, or have an accountability party, have an accountability phone call, whatever it is, you will not come through on those things. Because you will not iterate the behaviors necessary to achieve the results. You'll wake up at the end of the quarter and be like, oh, I didn't even know I was failing. Well, then how could you have changed along the way? All right, so these are some more examples. I'm going to skip through those. Cool. So here's some stats for you. New Year's resolutions. We come through 8% of the time. Anybody surprised by that? So dreams are just like New Year's resolutions. Without a framework, you're not even giving yourself a chance. Now, there are some very unique people, some 1/10 of 1%ers, who have the relentless motor to go, go, go in one direction without a framework. Assuming you're not one of those people, and if you were, you probably wouldn't be here today. I'm not one of those people, and I've accomplished a lot. You need a framework to learn and grow from. You need to know where it is you're trying to go. You need to have a guiding light or objective. By the way, my company's objective is 50,000 loans a year. Mine is, I want there to be a ton of people at my funeral who tell me or say that I helped them get to where they want to go. And so that's what I said when Brian asked what our goals were, right? And so when you have that guiding light, that guiding principle, it clarifies everything else. How am I going to measure that this quarter? What do I have to do for the company in order to make those things happen? So, if we're serious about our goals, then we just write them down. Instead of our whimsical New Year's resolution, our conversion percentage goes from 8% to 43%. In other words, you're 5 times as likely to accomplish your goals simply by writing them down. How many of you guys write down your goals? The most successful people I know actually write down their goals and carry them around with them in their pocket. Right? Marry your vision for your life. Because you will not be, first 2 things that I know for a fact. 1, you will get decision fatigue every single day. And if you wait to make good decisions about what you're going to do every single day, you will ultimately let yourself down all the time. You can eat healthy all day, but at 10 o'clock at night, when the yodel's staring you in the face, you're going to eat it most of the time. That's why you're not going to lose weight. You have to create rules and habits along the way to get to better results. 2, it's okay to fail. You have to be able to measure and try. And so most of the time, we don't even know if we're failing at this stuff, because if we don't write down our goals, we won't even remember checking to know if we failed. Serious goals that are written down and whose progress is shared with a friend weekly, 76% of the time we achieve our goals. So we go from 8% to 76% by writing them down, sharing them with a friend, and checking in. So when you talk about accountability buddies with Brian, I was like, yes, the answer is, until you can't, you should pay for somebody to do this with you. Coaching is essential. But if you can't right now, find somebody who will be mean to you about it every single week when you get together with them. Find somebody who loves you enough to be mean to you, who will practice radical candor with you, and who's willing to have a radically candid relationship. You guys having fun?
Yes.
All right, I am. What? KOAN.co. All right, guys. So I couldn't, by the way, those 2 things that we just went over, each of those could be an 8-hour training, right? And so I'm going to run through the crash course on the rest of this stuff very quickly. I'm actually going to close this for right now also. All right, look at work, okay, cool. Here are the other two pieces of this. Cool, I know who I want to be, and I know what I'm going to measure this quarter to get here. Now, here's the problem with that. Anybody hear of the 80-20 rule? It applies to everything, right? 20% of your time is 80% of your results. What we call that time at Princeton Mortgage or in the Princeton selling system is important but non-urgent work. So if you're a realtor and you're even moderately successful, you're probably very good at doing the urgent work. When someone calls you and says, can you list my house? Somehow you always have time for that phone call. What we don't have time for is the important but non-urgent work of prospecting that ends up being the $1,000 or $2,000 an hour work in Brian's equation. We let that go because it's never urgent. Let me say that again. $50 an hour work is urgent. $2,000 an hour work is never urgent as a salesperson. So how do you develop the habits? And we're going to talk about the two tools that we use in order to make sure that you take the 10 to 12 hours a week of important but not urgent work. And by the way, I'll tell you, if you follow the system perfectly, if I was like, hey, I'll give you $1 million just to do the system perfectly for what it takes to be a top realtor in terms of important but not urgent work, it's 10 to 12 hours a week at most. At most. How do you make sure you do that first? How do you make sure you do it first? So the first thing is, when you build out your key results, so I say, okay, look at Q4. I say, hey, I want to do 6 transactions, right? On 6 buy sides, 2 listings in Q4. Okay? Second thing I want to ask myself is, what are the important but non-urgent weekly activities I need to do every week that will help me get to those key results? Okay? That's it. What are the important but non-urgent things? So what are some prospecting things right now that we do as real estate agents that are important but non-urgent? Give me an example. We had a whole trading on one this morning.
Social media.
Social media. How many of you guys would die if you didn't post on social media today? Nobody. How many of you guys how many of your businesses would blow up? How many of your clients would get mad at you? How many people would care at all? Nobody, right? That is important but non-urgent work. But what you heard from the presenter this morning, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head right now, is that 90% of her business comes from the 1,200 followers that she has on Instagram. I went through her feed, it's really good. None of it's surprising to me. Those 1,200 people have chosen to watch her stuff. They like it. It's important but not urgent work. She spends a ton of time on it. I'll bet it's nowhere near 10 to 12 hours a week. Nowhere near it. But she's made a program for herself to do that stuff. And so we create scorecards at Princeton. Anybody else have anything important but not urgent that goes into prospecting as a realtor? How do you guys get business?
Goals.
We're setting goals. Calls.
Goals.
Cool. How many calls? What are your goals? What are your key results?
I don't know, sometimes I make 10, sometimes I make 5, sometimes I make 20.
That's great. And by the way, that's how I diet, which is why I look like this. Okay? So we have to be able to build measure learn. Right? So by the way, it's okay if this quarter you're like, hey, I'm going to have 24 conversations a week with prospective clients. For 4 conversations, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Stole it from Ninja Selling, like a lot of this stuff. I firmly recommend you read the book if you haven't done it. Okay, best sales book I've ever read happens to be specifically for real estate. I got halfway through the book, I almost quit my job. I was like, I'm becoming a realtor. That's how good this book is. Anybody here read it? You have you read it? Now, I've heard, by the way, that just having it in your closet is not enough.
I started it, I was like, it didn't hit home like that.
Stay with it.
Stay with it.
I'm going to tell you right now, the people at the group that company is built around do 10 times the national average in business of realtors. And they're in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is not exactly a real estate hotbed. Or at least it wasn't when the book was written. It works. It's a framework.
Is
Okay?
it called what? Ninja Selling?
Ninja Selling. It's on Audible. There's a podcast. It's amazing. Also, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent is another amazing book for realtors. One of the best sales books I've ever read. Anybody read that one?
Yeah.
You guys do this for a living. These books are good. You should read them. Like, I'm being serious. Like should be like barrier to entry minimum, right? If you're serious about what you do, and there's books made specifically for what you do, because there's no loan officer books, right? If you're on the mortgage side of this, I had to write one. For the realtors, I just got to steal theirs. That's how good these books are. Okay. So about the important but non-urgent work on your scorecard. So yes, it should be calls. 54 conversations a week. It should be 2 handwritten note cards every single day, right? Larry Kendall says 2 handwritten note cards every single day. What else should it be? It should be in-person meetings or real estate reviews, right? How many real estate reviews are you doing with past clients or people from your past every single week? So you're doing those 5?
25 a week.
25 a week, right? These are the important, but how many times should you post on social media, which by the way didn't exist when that book was written, right? We need 5 posts. We want to comment on 5 people's posts every single day. We want to like 5 other people's things. We want to be engaging with our sphere. And then you need to write those things down on a scorecard and measure your success every week. Because here's the thing. If you don't measure your activities, talk about objectives, key results are measurable goals, right? Things you want to measure. Activities are the thing that drive those. They belong in a scorecard. Without a scorecard, you won't know if either you're not doing the activities, enough of them, or you're just not doing them well enough.
How did you call it? Scorecard?
Scorecard.
Oh, score.
Scorecard. I'll send it to you. If you guys email me after this, I'll send you a copy of a scorecard specifically for real estate agents. That's amazing. You can change it, by the way. Because my favorite thing about the scorecard for loan officers that we have at Princeton Mortgage is it allows you to stop lying to yourself. Here's what I mean. This is what we think a top loan officer does every week. For the last 3 weeks, Diana, you haven't done any of the note cards. Congratulations. You're never going to do them. Take it off your goddamn scorecard and find another way to hit your goals. Because here's the thing, guys. There's no more reason to lie to yourself about it anymore. You don't like it. You're not going to do it. Move on. I'm not giving up the yodels. Right? And so the scorecard enables you to stop lying to yourself about what you're going to do. Right? You don't get to say anymore. Every week, by the way, you know what that does? Now, every week when you start your scorecard, you know you're not going to do the note card, you start to hate your scorecard. Like, fuck this scorecard. It's making my life miserable. It's like, dude, change the scorecard. Put the stuff on there that you want to be doing, that you think will lead to those results. And then ask, by the way, if there's not enough of those things, then ask yourself, do I want to give up on my goals? Right? Because if you're not willing to do this stuff on the scorecard over time, what you're really saying is, I don't want to be a realtor. It's okay. But we want to drive clarity. This is what top real estate agents do. This is what top loan officers do. Are you willing to do the stuff? Or do you just want what's going to happen at the end? Go ahead.
So I hate writing note cards.
Me too.
But I feel like it's important to be successful. So like, what do you do if it's important but you don't like to do it? I mean, do you just take it off the scorecard or you supplement it another way?
What? There's 3 options. You can supplement it with something else. Cool, I hate scorecards, but I'm going to do 100 Ford conversations a week instead. Okay? Or I'm going to do something else that's going to replace them. You can hire somebody else to write your note cards. Because like Brian said, right, is you can outsource it. Here's what I'll tell you is, do not hire something online that looks like a handwritten note card, and do not hire somebody who doesn't know anything about your business. Spend a little extra money for somebody who's close enough to you where you can make those scorecards still feel personal. And by the way, if I'm sending you a note card, I can't have somebody with beautiful girly penmanship sitting in pink pen sending that to you because your note didn't come from me. So if I'm not going to do it myself, I want to do the extra work to make sure that it looks like it came from me. Okay? So I have a process in my life where somebody goes through my calendar every week and sees who I spoke with, then asks me about those conversations. I tell them what happened in those conversations verbally. She records it, writes the handwritten note cards in handwriting that could be mistaken for mine, and sends those out. I created a whole process for hating it, right? The other piece is, so yes, either you stop doing it, you find somebody who doesn't do it, or for some things we suck it up, right? And that's true too. I hate traveling for work. I'm here today because I thought it was important to come for a number of different reasons, right? My kids are about to go through a hurricane. As soon as I leave here, I'm going to get in a car and drive to Charleston, South Carolina, and hopefully beat it there, right? And so I'll say to be dramatic about it, but I say like, hey guys, it's dramatic, right? But the answer is, this is important to what I want to do and where I want to go. The opportunity to sit here with you guys and change 1 or 2 people's lives a little bit, to build a further connection with the loan officer team that we hired in the area and get to know those guys and their families, couldn't pass it up. So instead of flying back tomorrow, I'm driving back tonight. And so we make those decisions sometimes to suck it up because it's important enough to us. I also know what my objective is. My objective is 50,000 loans a year by 2028. My objective is have a funeral where people say they help them get to where they want to go. And so that becomes very clarifying to me because everyone was like, Mark, you're crazy. Why are you going? There's a hurricane coming. You should cancel it. And I said, I know who I want to be, I know where I'm going. So it made the decision easier. So because I have that guiding principle, and by the way, I have to go take care of my family, I was like, cool, I'm not going to get stuck in Birmingham or Atlanta over the weekend. I'm going to drive back tonight. And so that's how I made that decision. But I know where I'm going. So, scorecard. Important. Anybody have any other questions about any of this? Because I like questions better than lectures.
I have an answer for you. Pair up with somebody that doesn't like to do something else and exchange.
There you go. There's always a solution, right? You have to know where you're
You
going.
can
where
partner
you're
with me if you want.
It's like, I'll write note cards all day. I love it, all right? So cool, so scorecard your activities, right? And by the way, when you want to develop a new habit, the scorecard helps you out, right? You're like, cool, for my loan officers, I'm like, guys, the best way to meet realtors is to go to open houses, not with your mortgage you're on, but as somebody who's interested in real estate, wants to be an investor, and go meet people. Don't ask for anything, build a relationship, see if it makes sense. The realtors are on and board. They dressed up, they're looking good, they're feeling themselves, they're in a good mood, they're gonna try to impress you when you walk in the door. It's gonna be amazing. As opposed to chasing them down on social media or calling them about something else with your Princeton mortgage shirt on. I say it all the time, right? By the way, you better have a way to deliver value to that person beyond just asking them for business if you want them to work with you. What's your value proposition? And it can't be that you're cute. That only holds up to the first transaction, right? You want people to stay with you, right? So cool, so we have our scorecards. And I do those every week on Friday at 4:45 when I look at my calendar to fill out my key results. Friday at 5 o'clock when I check in with myself. Scorecard, key results. So here's the last piece, this is the most important piece. I know everybody's tired and wants to get out of here. It's your calendar, guys. I have 3 monitors set up in my office. One of them is just my calendar. My calendar is public and shared with every single person who works for my company. I live this every day by example so that people will be able to live with it with me. Time is your most valuable asset. Nobody gets to control your time but you. So every quarter, I rebuild my entire calendar with my key results and my scorecard. Delete it, rebuild it. And I have a lot going on. I got 3 little girls. I'm married, I have a podcast that I do in Charleston, chief revenue officer of a mortgage company. I got a lot of stuff to do. Like Brian said, the ability to get 3 days worth of stuff done in 1 day is a muscle you build up over time through your calendar. Here's the biggest problem. One of my favorite trainings to do is, it's called to-do lists are evil. How many of you guys have a to-do list? How many of you guys would fight me if I tried to take your to-do list away from you? Cool. Let me change your mind. That to-do list is the single worst thing in your life. Oh, look at the reaction. I love it. It allows you to say yes to everything. And maybe you think that's good for you. It's not. A to-do list is the biggest lie there is. First of all, 45% of things on a to-do list never get done. Oh, it is true. Oh, yes, and by the way, these are the people who are like, my first thing on my to-do list is to make a to-do list. Check. And I was like, well, now I'm at 90%. Great. Brush your teeth. Check. Great. Let's press it back. Guys, I promise you, there is no CEO of a Fortune 500 company working off a to-do list. No chance. No. There's a to-do list, guys. Your time is in your calendar. If you can't say yes to putting it in, I'll explain what I mean. So first, I build my calendar. Here's what it is in my calendar. First thing, dinner with my family 3 nights a week. Date night with my wife, in there first. Time at the gym in the morning. Time for meditation in the morning. All in there, on my calendar, every single day. Time blocking, my 10 to 12 hours of important but not urgent work, time at work. Calling loan officers, calling my team, doing the things I need to do that I know are important but not urgent work. Writing my handwritten note cards. Or working with my assistant to make sure they get done. Okay? All that's in there next. Then after that, my one-on-ones with the people on my team. I give a half hour every week to people that report to me because they deserve it. And for that half hour, I get 50 hours worth of work back from that person, so I'm leveraging myself and my time to work through those people. The rest of the time in my calendar is all that's left. That's it. It's finite. And when you get to be successful, everyone in your life is trying to take that time from you. Your email box. Mark Zuckerberg the people at TikTok. Everybody's trying to steal that time. And we are so happy to let them do it. And then we take all of our important shit, throw it on a to-do list, and say we'll get to it when we get to it. And then we move it from to-do list to to-do list every single day. So let me give you an example. Someone says to me, Mark, I want you to come to Alabama for a speaking event. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. When I go and look at this day on my calendar, I know exactly what I'm giving up when I say yes to this. Saying yes to this meant saying no to everything else I was supposed to do on this day. So some of my important but not urgent stuff on Thursday and Wednesday, when I came here yesterday, got moved to other days. Some of it got canceled altogether. Date night with my wife, not replaceable. That's Thursdays. I gave that up to come here. But that was a decision I made. Look at that, right? So to-do lists, it's like, cool, we'll just put it on the to-do list. Well, then what ends up happening, you never have date night with your wife. By the way, how many of you guys have ever had to get your oil changed and had it on your to-do list for 3 weeks? That is the perfect example of what I'm talking about, because that is important but non-urgent. Until your engine is going to seize, you need to get your oil changed is not the most urgent thing in your world, so you'll just kick it down the road. Here's what it does to you. You have this piece of your brain that's sitting there with it on the to-do list going, I gotta get my oil changed, I gotta get my oil changed, I gotta get my oil changed. It's like something poking you in the back of your head. And it's stealing all of your creative energy. Your creative energy is the thing that allows you to be you. It's the thing that allows you to be successful. It's the thing that gives you the ideas for what to do next. It is stolen by your to-do list. Because everything on your to-do list is this nagging thing poking you that you know you have to get done. Look at that face. She knows it. She can feel it. It pokes you. No, you don't. I'll tell you what. Because you like to check and get off.
Yeah.
Great. So let me give
I meant to check it.
Cool. Let me give you another way you can have that same rush of excitement, okay? Guys, you know what I do when I get my oil changed? I put it in my calendar.
Like afterwards?
No. In fact,
I mean, it's in my calendar.
no. In fact, I have.
But then you don't check it over that.
Yes, you can. Let's go. Ready? So first of all, my oil change is a recurring calendar every 6 months.
Okay.
Me getting my hair cut is a recurring calendar every 2 weeks. My dentist appointments are in my calendar. Everything's in there. I know what I say yes to, what I say no to. If it's, you know what Ron Burgundy is with the monitor? It's like, if it's on the monitor, he'll read it, right? You know Ron Burgundy? Mark Gordon is, if it's in my calendar, I will do it. My wife puts it in there, that's what I'm doing. That's where I'm going. If it's not in there, I didn't know about it. Okay? I live with the calendar, right? Hey, you get your oil change, you want to take it off your to-do list? Delete it. Cool. Hey, good. We got through Tuesday. I get the same satisfaction I went and deleted getting my oil changed. Okay? So guys, if you think about what your calendar is, this is the most valuable thing you have. If your objective is $5 million by 2028, and you aren't managing everything you do through what you do with your time every single day, and you aren't putting the things that you're not willing to give up in there first, one of two things happens. All the things you think are most important to you, like your husbands, your wives, your kids, your social time, all the time at the gym, all the things you cherish, you just stop doing them. Bedtime, fuck it. You don't need to read today. That's what happens, right? Little Sally goes, will you read me a bedtime story? Yes, I'll be up there in 20 minutes. Oh wait, I lied. Somebody just called me for a real estate listing and now Sally's out on the phone. It's true, we make these decisions and we laugh about it because it's ridiculous, but that's what's happening to us because we are not being disciplined with our time. Here's where discipline equals freedom. You know what this is for me? Here's what this is. If I have an interview with a loan officer and they don't show up, you know what I do during that time period? Fucking nothing. Because everything I have to do is scheduled out and there's nothing waiting. I have time in there to respond to my emails. I have time in there to do this thing with my kids. It's all built in. So when I get an hour back, I have complete freedom. There is no nagging to-do list hanging over my head of stuff I have to get to the minute a window of freedom opens up. That's what discipline does for you. It gives you freedom back with your time. And so here's how it works, guys. It's 4 pillars of management for yourself. Objectives, key results, scorecard, calendar. Calendar, scorecard, key results, objectives. You can accomplish anything if you're willing to measure your progress every quarter, you're willing to hone in the activities on that progress weekly, and you're willing to be disciplined with your time and do the important but non-urgent stuff first. the $1,000 an hour work. Now here's the thing, guys, we went over it. It will change nothing for you if you don't practice it. These are skills that develop over time. But the calendar thing over the to-do list, try it for a week. For 1 week, when you go to do your to-do list, instead of putting it in there, write in your calendar when you're gonna do it. You're like, well, Mark, these are only things that are gonna take me 3 minutes. Cool. Take a 30-minute block and put 10 of them in there. Write in exactly what those things are that you need to get done in that 30 minutes. It will change your life. Because here's the thing. The next time someone asks you, hey, do you want to go to this event or that event? And you look at your calendar and you go, I'm going to miss bedtime 3 nights that week. You'll be able to say no. And that's the difference, guys. You never know what you're saying no to when you say yes, but it's something. And it's usually something that's more important. And so the people who are the most disciplined with their calendars and their time are the ones who make the repeated good decisions and leave the yodels in the cupboard. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Any questions that you have? Yeah. Thank you.
Do you put that every single night in the calendar?
Literally every night. And then if I have a work meeting, I delete it. Right? So it's okay. I change what's in my calendar constantly. Right now, I have the fixed things in there. The recurring calendars are in there. But this event required me to cancel a bunch of recurring calendars. So I could go on my calendar and go, they want me to go on this Thursday. I gotta leave Wednesday to come back Friday. Really, I thought I had to leave Thursday morning, then they moved me to 9 a.m. and then they changed it again to 3 o'clock, so that was a shock. But I moved around. And then but I know what I'm saying no to, right? And that's the whole secret of it. Go ahead.
I knew you wanted to be challenged.
Yeah.
All right, so they've heard from 2 very powerful speakers today identify the importance of a calendar, a schedule, scheduling success. So you guys have dropped the nuggets. You're going to leave. I'm here left behind to help people implement this. I know they're not going to do it. 99.9% of them are not going to do it. What can I do as the coach here left on the ground, the boots on the ground, to help them do this?
Well, I'll tell you exactly. First of all, guys, everybody here, how many people in here do you work with? Most people work with you or not really?
No.
With me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people in here would be willing to try for 1 week to take the stuff on their to-do list and put it in their calendar?
For what?
To take the stuff on their to-do list and put it in their calendar. What? So what's on your to-do list right now?
For today,
Today, what's on your to-do list today?
I was here all day. But this morning, so.
I know you were here.
Well, I have my bedtime scheduled out, and then I get up in the morning, I pray.
That's your schedule.
Oh, okay.
So when you guys have a to-do list, how many things on there are things that just kind of pop? What are the pop-up things that are on your to-do list? This is what I mean, by the way, when I talk about this. It's something always popping up. I gotta get the kids' permission slip back today. I gotta get this thing for the school. The nanny canceled. I gotta find a new babysitter for this, a new thing for that, right? These are the things that we deal with, right? That is the stuff that needs to be on your calendar. And so here's what I'll say. We have accountability, right? We have somebody who goes in and looks and sees that people are doing it. We make our loan officers turn in a scorecard every week, even if they got a 0 on it. And what we give them is free marketing. So if you turn in your scorecard, you get the free marketing. If you get a 0, you got to turn it in. But you have to deal with the reality whether or not you're willing or not willing to do the stuff. Your calendar will not change the injury rate of your children. So I completely agree with that. I understand what you're saying. Here's what it does. Cool. I thought I was going to do this afternoon. Now I have to go to the emergency room. What am I missing? And what a disciplined calendar will do for you is like, okay, cool. This next 4 hours is now fucked. Great. Now what do I want to do with that time? Right? And so the answer is, well, this thing and this thing are not important enough to me where I'm ever going to get back to them. They're just not. I can't get back to them. This thing is, but as I look at Friday's already completely booked. Oh wait, but when I look at Friday, there is that one conversation that I was going to have with my girlfriend, or I was going to go to lunch with my girlfriend. I can give that up. So these 2 things are gone forever. This thing I'm going to put in lunch with my girlfriend. I'm going to reschedule that for the future. And now I get to move those things around in a conscious way. And so what we're really trying to do is bring consciousness to what happened with our time. Because if you don't do it this way, what happens at the end of the week, you go is, I didn't get anything done. You're like, why? Sally broke her arm. How many hours were you in the emergency for? 72? No, I was there for 4 hours. But the emotional roller coaster, by the way, of that can be something that lasts for 3 days. And if we have to make good decisions after Sally breaks her arm, we will fail. So we have to live by the calendar. Because what my calendar does for me is whether I feel like it or not, if I committed to this team here that I was going to be here in Alabama today, it would have been so easy to be like, hey guys, can't come, hurricane, can't come, right? But if you make the decision to come here, you have to know what it is that you're giving up, right? The answer is I wasn't willing to give this up, right? And so we create that consciousness there. So yes, emergency room for the kid. If the hurricane was one day earlier, I wouldn't be here, right? That's the reality. We know that. We can't fix that part of it, but what we can do is say, okay, cool, we missed this. I'm moving this here and this here and this one canceling. And we want to bring a consciousness to how we make up that time or don't.
I know we need to let you go so you can get on the road, but I want to encourage people to listen to the episodes you did on the Ninja Selling podcast. And the theme of that was the game is rigged. You have 2 to 5 minutes where you can share just kind of what that means and just a brief overview of the game is rigged. Because I know a lot of us are nervous about, when Diana comes home and she says, hey, Mark said the rates are going to 9%, I panic. So, and a lot of us are feeling that. So what can you tell us about the game is rigged? How can we be molding our dialogue, conversations, one-on-one, and social media content around this concept?
Yeah, so first is thank you, but I guess I would love if people go listen to that because I think Matt and Garrett, who run that podcast, are just incredible on it. They provide so much value and it's free. So check that out. But so here's what I mean when the game is rigged. Well, I'll say this first. There's opportunity in every market. And these cataclysmic shifts create opportunity for those who see reality really well and are willing to accept the situation and adapt. Right? What I mean by the game is rigged is this. The United States is pretty much the only country on earth that has 30-year fixed mortgage rates. 30-year fixed mortgage rates are an insane concept. For me to lend you money at 3% a year ago for 30 years, knowing that rates could go to 30%, at some point we get a hyperinflation and I would still be lending you that money at 3%, meaning I could be losing all of that money, right? That's a crazy financial instrument that our government came up with that really makes no sense. What it does is, this is why, by the way, real estate goes up at 5% even when inflation is 2%. It's because this game is rigged. And here's what it is. Do you guys see the equity numbers recently nationally? What percentage of U.S. of the total amount of value of U.S. homes is mortgages and what percent is equity? Do you guys know right now?
LTV is 29 and change.
Yeah, it's the 29, 31, depending on what day you're looking at and where you're at, right? Sloan's awesome. I met her earlier. Okay? Guys, that means that there's a lot of room for prices to come down right now, right? It means that most people are not tapped out on their equity and you're seeing those different things, right? But the other piece of this is, right, is that I bought my house for, let's say you buy a house today for 7%, at 7%. If rates go up, what happens to your monthly payment? Nothing. Suddenly 7% is an asset. Because if rates stay at 9 or 10 or 11%, it means inflation stayed up at 9, 10, or 11%. It means presumably most of you guys made more money at your jobs because, by the way, you guys get paid on the value of houses. And so those things open. So if rates stay really high, right, so what means we have inflation across the economy, and your rate's 7%, you start to feel really good about that. It's locked in. What happens as soon as rates go to 6%? Do you stay at 7%?
You refinance.
Oh, no, we get to save money. And by the way, on my investment properties, I get to make more profit immediately. What happens when they go to 5%? Am I stuck at 6? How often can I refinance and take advantage of these lower rates? All the time. Every time. Really, you can screw me over if you do it more than every 6 months, but 6 months. Make 6 payments, then refinance again, all right? And so the game is rigged because over a 30-year period where you're borrowing this money, anytime you borrow it, you are going to have the lowest rate that was ever available to you over that 30 years. Right? So you're buying at 7%, but at some point over the next 30 years, rates will probably be lower. If not, you're gonna love your 7%. Right? If 7% is the lowest they ever go over the next 30 years, you're gonna be like, psh, I got 7%. 5 years from now, you'll love it, you'll feel great about it, right? But if even one day they go down to 3%, guess what you got? 3%, just like that. And so when I talk about the game being rigged, it is, hey, if you're a real estate investor, or you got that PPP money still sitting on the sidelines not doing anything, right? This is still an opportunity to go out and be a buyer, right? And by the way, don't put 50% down as long as you can afford the monthly payments. Cash is king in a recession. And assuming that we're going to be headed into a recession, you want to borrow as much as you can at 7% tax deductible, which is still lower than inflation, right? And then be able to refinance that money as rates go down and keep your cash on the sideline so as prices become depressed, you can dollar cost average and keep buying and keep buying and keep buying because the buying opportunities are coming. So that's why the game is rigged.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Where do we hear that, the podcast? I'm sorry.
Ninja Selling. It's the Ninja Selling podcast.
Is yours?
No, it's not my podcast. I was on an episode called The Game is Rigged 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That?
You said like 800 times it's okay to fail.
Yes.
And I was just wondering when you got to that place where it was okay for you to fail.
You're not going to like my answer. You're not going to like my answer. First of all, Brian, I never met Brian until today. We think about so many things the same way. We're probably reading a lot of the same books, okay? I grew up playing sports. People at my company get so mad because all I do is talk about sports analogies. They say, why? I say, because you get to watch the final product on the field. There's film of it. You know exactly who's doing a good job and who isn't, what works and what doesn't, and we can learn from it. I am obsessed with Nick Saban. I don't like Alabama. I'm not an Alabama fan. You guys all seem fine, okay? But the guy crushes it, and it's fascinating to me. It was Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are fascinating to me, right? Because you get to see the result so clearly, right? And so I played sports my whole life. I failed constantly. But I loved the game, and so I never quit. And I was the kid, by the way, I was never that great at basketball. I'm not really built for basketball, but they couldn't cut me because of the message it was sent to everybody else because I was the kid diving on the floor, playing hard defense, doing whatever it took, the first one there to fight for my teammates. And so I found my way onto the team. And so failure for me was like, I just want to get out here and play. Be in the game, right? And so winning is a bonus. And if you play long enough, you get that magical experience of being on an amazing team and it all coming together and winning. And by the way, cherish that moment when it comes. Do not be one of those people that wins and then goes, okay, what's next? Live in it. Enjoy the wins, okay? But failure is part of the price of getting that feeling. And so every time you fail, you're just that much closer to another championship. And I've always felt that way, and it's continued to be that way. So yes, in this moment, by the way, you know, after 2 record years in the mortgage industry where I thought I was a hero and a god, even though it was just the market giving us a bunch of opportunity, and I had to take this step back and feel all these failures, man, I cannot wait for what it's going to feel like on the other side, but we got to grind through. We can't quit. Can't quit. So, great question. Any other questions?
Are you a Clemson fan?
No. Rutgers, baby. Let's go. I'm sure you guys are worried about them on the national championship. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.